do find the counsel obscene for most of the world's suffering people. The people in grinding poverty hear about a new book that came out. They get to the end and they begin to read, and it says grill steaks and eat unhealthy desserts. They've never had a square meal in their lives. How in the world does it possibly come with a compassionate, reasonable answer to the problem of suffering? And once again, we're in a narcissistic society. I was flying here and talking to someone on the plane about the debate, or flying in New York before this, and I was talking about the debate back and forth. They found it fascinating. So I said, here, read the answer. And the fellow got mad. He said, we don't need more narcissism. We don't need more it's about me. And that's what's killing our country. Judge a tree by its fruit. And then read the whole of the book of Ecclesiastes. Yes, enjoy life. Yes, enjoy the good things you can. Yes, enjoy time with your family and cultivate friendships. But read to the end of the book. Read the last chapter that says, remember your Creator in the days of your youth. The book comes to a climax saying, it's more than this. Old Testament scholars said it to me like this the other day. The overall message of Ecclesiastes is that living without God is not living at all. And as for asking why, the Bible encourages us to ask. As I said earlier, it puts the words out and says, use these to bring your complaint against God. Let's remember perspective, friends. In creation, there's day first and then night. You come to the end of Psalm 88 and it closes with the words, darkness is my closest friend. Sometimes that's our experience in life. It ends, and the chapter is dark, but the next chapter, the next psalm begins with hope and life. Weeping may endure for a night, joy comes in the morning. I don't know if the camera can come in on this, but here's a little needle point here, and maybe you can make out something on the bottom. Maybe you can make out looks like a building or a church or a steeple or something. There's something quite obscure written on top. That's our perspective here. That's this world's perspective. Pain, suffering, death, inexplicable things happening. It seems random. It seems out of control. How can there be a God like that and a world like this? And those are the very questions the Bible answers. But see, from God's perspective, He's doing something. And there it is written beautifully across the top. It's meaningless here. It's gibberish here. But there it is. Everything is possible with God. In fact, let me present this to you as a memento. Perhaps an altruistic thing that you would not have done for me. Present me with a needle point that everything is possible with God. So let's look at this. And again, I want to say again, in no way do I fault Bart for losing his faith. And in no way do I find your answer unreasonable from your perspective, sir. But ultimately, here's what you have. You lose God. You lose the comfort and reality that God can bring in this world. You bring His intervention, and let me tell you, He is intervening on a regular basis around the world. Maybe not as much as we like, but He is intervening. You take away His intervention. You take away His comfort. You take away His redemptive work. You take away His reality and the fellowship we enjoy with Him. You take away the world to come and offer me Bordeaux and unhealthy desserts. No thank you. I will stay with God and His reality and His promises and His wonders. Ultimately, as I really chewed on this, I realized that what we have is Bart's problem, which is the problem of the human race, and God's solution. In fact, I was just thinking of these two books. God's Problem, which probably sold more books than anything I've written, and the solution. And really, when I look at this book, some of the things Bart wrote there, the problem of suffering became for me the problem of faith. He speaks of those that have a faith in God, and look at the mystery of it and says, I respect this view deeply, and some days I wish I shared it. He writes in his book that he has an amazing life, but he has no one for which to be thankful. This is a deep void, he writes, inside me, a void of wanting someone to thank, and I don't see any plausible way of filling it. Even candid enough to say in his book that he would sometimes wonder, what if I was right then but wrong now? Will I burn forever? The fear of death gripped me for years, and there are still moments when I wake up at night in a cold sweat. And I thought, this is Bart's problem. This book represents Bart's problem and the problem of the human race. This represents God's solution. With my heart and my soul, I give myself to God's solution, and I commend God's solution to you. I taught at the seminary in California last week, and I had a student, former police officer in 1987, was broadsided by a logging truck and almost killed. His spleen exploded, multiple injuries. On life support, they had to give him pour so much drugs into him, it destroyed his retinas. He's basically blind, has to be led by the hand. and suffered terribly, a diabetic, on and on and on. He was not a believer when that happened, and I said, what was your experience then? He said, it felt like absolute, utter abandonment. And I said, now how is it with God? He hasn't been healed yet. How is it with God? He said, it's like having the parent right there with the child. This man full of joy, full of life, full of hope, full of grace. He even started a company to help handicapped people get places for work. I look at it and I say again, we have Bart's problem. We have God's solution. Once more, I commend to you God and His solution. Thank you so much.